Howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of School of Rockin' Agar. What are we here for today? We are here to use those agar plates that you've been pouring and learning how to pour with us. So, we have some spores galore from everybody in the world that we know and love, from Mycocat to Goomba King to Wunderland Genetics. What else do we have? We might even have some Nicky Myco stuff hiding in there, you never know. Anyhow, we're going to walk you through a few methods on how to inoculate those plates using various tools you may or may not have or know about. So here we go. Let's unwrap our plates. Let's get our lights lined up and pull out some spores. And what in the heck do we have going on? You're about to find out. We have a spore print to start out the day. This one, I believe, is a golden halo that I've had sitting in my stash for quite some time. If I'm not correct, I could be correct. It might be from Nicky Myco. That or Susie Greenberg, one of the two. Anyhow, it's a pretty cool looking little print. If you haven't seen Golden Halo, it's kind of got a reddish color to it. So we'll unwrap it here in the slowest method possible so that you can see us do it. We're going to start out with the knock loop method. This is a knock loop if you didn't know. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab that print, open it up, and we're going to take the end of our knock loop here, and we're just going to kind of scrape some spores onto it. You may or may not be able to see it well here, but I am grabbing some spores, and you can see it kind of disappear off the foil here as I do so. Then once we have an adequate amount there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to streak our plate. Eventually. Like I said, pretty cool looking orangish spores there. So you're going to see them come up on the plate here pretty easily. And we're just going to make a little S pattern. You can make any pattern you like. That's just kind of what I've gotten to doing to expose the spores across the plate pretty well. The sterile swab method. Sometimes you got a print and you want an easy way to put it on your plate. Just take yourself a sterile swab, and we're going to do much like we did with the knock loop here, and we're just going to go ahead and rub some spores off of that there print. This is also a good way to make several swabs or several spore carrying devices out of one single print. Just going to get enough there to streak the plate just like we did with the knock loop. You don't need a ton. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just go ahead and make our little fancy pattern here. Make whatever pattern you like. You can make little supplementary streaks on either side, whatever you like. Anything, anywhere you put them spores, the chances are they're going to grow. Alrighty, let's get into them spore swabs. Here we have a purple mystic from a good friend of mine, Bunny at Wunderland Genetics. And I really kind of like the looks of these swabs, so we'll start out with just a standard streak. Now, what do I mean by standard? Pretty simple. Just what I said, streak it across the plate. Anyhow, take a look at what I'm talking about once I finally wrestle this thing open at all the nice spores there, even kind of pooling up in the bottom of that package, so we know that they're going to transfer to the plate real well. So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to do our standard little S pattern and maybe throw on a little couple extra streaks on the side there and, just do our normal. The fluff method. No, it's not a brown chicka brown owl fluff. It's taking the scalpel and kind of fluffing out the end of our cotton swab here. So we're also going to remove a little piece of cotton in the process. That's nice to go ahead and put down inside the agar. It'll get nice and moist, and the spores should germinate well for you. Now that we've kind of freed up the spores off the end of that cotton swab there, it's easier to streak the plate as well and get more of them out there. So we'll also do some little supplementary streaks there, and you could probably inoculate 5 to 10 plates with that one swab that way. Here we have another swab from our good buddy Goomba King. This is Cape, that's K-triple-S Squats by Ape, our favorite, yay! We'll see how this one does. This one is a hard one to find, and I really like it. We're gonna do the condensation method. See, now you thought those condensated plates were a bad thing, but if you got dry swabs, you got old spores, that condensation can save your behind. All we're really going to do is we're going to take our swab, and I'll show you here why we're going to get it a little wet. This is a sparse dry swab, but it will work. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to rub it against that moisture on the inside of our plate. That will sort of hydrate our spores, but it will also allow us to streak it across the plate and see kind of the muddy looking spores that we put across there. You can also hydrate those spores with hydrogen peroxide 3%. Or sterile water that you sterilize in your pressure cooker. The slam dunk method. A lot of you folks like this because it looks awful darn pretty on your posts. I personally don't because it wastes the swab, so I would wait until you've put it on about 4 or 5 other plates before you do this. But it sure looks cool. Just jam that puppy in there. If it sticks out a little bit, that's okay. Just put the lid on it, it'll push it down for dramatic effect. Later on, this will look pretty darn cool. Liquid culture testing or expansion on agar with blueberry sky ape from Mycocat. There's a few ways to do this. We'll go over 2 here. This is my favorite. It's our good old-fashioned knock loop method. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yes, it does. I like them knock loops. All we're going to do here is we're going to drip some of this across the little open round part there to make it like a bubble blower, only we're not going to blow out of it. We're going to go ahead and streak that across our plate. You see the nice drop formed there? It'll stay there for you long enough to put that cap on and go ahead and streak our plates. You could probably get 3 or 4 plates with that liquid that you got just in that one drop. And you'll see here that we streak it just like we do any of the spores or anything. We want as little as possible on there so that we don't have excess moisture and create condensation and potential for any sort of contamination environment. Now, in this case, we'll go ahead and do the typical old-fashioned drip method. All you're going to do is you're going to squeeze the sides of that syringe until a drop comes out. Sometimes it takes Herculean strength, as you can see here. Finally.